This shot is looking really bad, and more than this, the audio sounds worse. But do you know the best part? I'm using a $200 phone to record this video. But now I'm going to get $2,000 camera and some expensive equipment so that my content quality gets updated and it looks great to watch. Oh, now this looks good. But here's the crazy part. I'm not using $2,000 camera or some expensive lights, but this entire video is filmed on a same $200 phone and some basic equipments, all under $50. Most of you think you need expensive gears to create cinematic videos, but that's completely wrong. My first video looked like this, but over time I figured out a few key techniques and now my videos looks like this. The difference isn't about money or gear, it's about knowing the right approach. So the first step to make this setup cinematic is lights. No, it's audio. Audio is 60% of your video. You can have the bad video, worst video, just like this one, and still people will watch it. But if the audio is bad, no one is gonna watch your video. Therefore, to make your audio sound good, the first step is using a good mic. No, the first step is fixing the source of your recording. You may think if you buy an expensive mic, your all audio related problem gets solved. But that's wrong. You may have the best mic in the world, but if your source of recording, if your room contains noise, it will give you a cheap quality. Therefore, to reduce the noise, no matter how hot it's outside, the first step is to turn off your fan. Right now I'm sweating, but if I turn on the fan, it sounds something like this. I've just turned on the fan and I guess you are hearing all those noise, and this noise is from the fan. But if I turn off the fan, it sounds this way. You can see the clear difference. Now the noise has been reduced. The second step is to fix your echo, and you can do this by doing tap tap this way. If you can hear the echo, it basically means you have an empty room and the sound is getting reflected by hitting the wall. Therefore, to fix this, you can add some more furnitures in your room, or you can even add bed mattresses in front of your wall so that when you speak, the sound does not get reflected from the wall. That mattress just absorbs the sound. Or even if you don't want to do that, you can take two pillows, keep it in 45-degree angle so that when you speak, the sound gets scattered. And when the sound gets scattered in 45 degrees across this way, it does not hit the wall. The pillow absorbs it. And all the sound goes directly to your mic. After fixing the audio source, now it's time for a mic. Did you see the instant difference? Now the video sounds a little bit more professional. But your audio will still sound cheap if you buy the wrong mic for your voice. The mic that I'm using is Boya M1. It is a very budget friendly mic, but a really good mic. And this is a mic that most of the creators use in their initial days of their journey. Now here's the main thing. If you're planning to buy a mic, which you should, there are mainly two types of mic. The first is a condenser mic and the second is a dynamic mic. And these two have their own specialties and their own use cases. Every mic that you see in podcast is a dynamic mic, and I'm huge fan of this mic. Now if you talk about the sound quality of this mic, they are very less sensitive than condenser mic. They focuses on the mid-range, not too sharp and not too noisy. They are best for streaming, recording videos in noisy environment just like this videos in this kind of setup, and they reject every background noise. So if I'm talking here and the mic is here, something happens in my background, it does not capture the audio of the background. It only captures my audio. That's why they are used in podcast. Now here are some of the best mics from budget friendly to high-end mics in this category of dynamic mic. Now here's my honest opinion related to mic. You don't even have to buy a mic, to be honest. You can record from your videos and you can go to Adobe Podcast and edit your audio and it sounds good. But the only problem is it's not sustainable for long run, because when you're recording from your phone, then the thing that you have to do is you have to get very closer to your phone. Right now my phone is very far, and in order for me to sound crispier, I have to bring that phone as closer to my mouth. And if I bring phone as closer to my mouth, I can't record this video because only this much part will get recorded. What about the above part? The second problem is when I record only from my audio, if my environment is noisy, something just fell outside, some utensils just fell outside in the other house, and I can hear the sound. So if I'm not using this mic and if I'm using phone mic, that gets captured there. And during editing section, it's very hard to reduce that noise. And sometimes what you realize is you are talking to the camera, but the noise is much more louder than your voice. At that time, you have to re-record this again. That increases the friction. And the more friction it gets increased, the more you don't feel like doing it. If you can buy the best mic, go for the best one because the sound quality is best. Even if you don't have any budget, you can buy this mic. It's really cheap, but the sound is really good. Now, once you fix the audio source, it's time for the lighting. Without light, cinematic look isn't possible. No matter how good your audio is, you make your audio so good, but if there isn't light in your videos, your video is still gonna look worse. But most of you will miss some key fundamentals and techniques of lighting, and because of that you may think you'll buy expensive lights and your lighting problem gets removed and your setup looks cinematic, but that's completely wrong. You can have the expensive lights, really expensive lights, but if you carry it in a wrong way, it's a disaster. But you can have some cheap lights just like this, which I'm using currently, but if you carry them in a right way, you'll get a cinematic look. Therefore, the first step of making your setup look cinematic is using the key light. No, it's blocking all the natural light that comes in your setup. In right side of my face, there is a big ass window from which a natural light is coming into my face. This side is getting light up by this window, and there is a small window in left side which is lighting up my this side. But this window is not only lighting my face, but it is also lighting my background, due to which you can see my background clearly and it's not looking cinematic. You may also look little bit of grain in this side, which is making this video more worse. So the first thing is turn off all the curtains in your room. After blocking the windows, the setup looks really dark, and now it's time for the key light. So this is the key light, and it is the most powerful light in your entire setup. Right now I'm using a panel light. I don't know the company name. It will be down in the description. But this is not an expensive light. It is under $20. The key thing that you should consider when you're using a key light is the light should be soft. Right now I'm using a panel light, and this light does not come with a softbox, which means my light is harsh. And if I increase the brightness of this light, it causes harshness in my face, and due to that harshness you can see all the shadows, also my wrinkles, my pimples in my face, and it does not look good in front of camera. But you can reduce this harshness by using softbox. Now there are different kinds of softbox you'll get in the market. If you're using any professional light just like Godox SL60W, then you can get this big softbox with a grid in it. If you are not using Godox light and you're using panel light just like this one, which I'm using currently, they don't come with a softbox, for which what you can do is you can use 2-in-1 reflector, which you'll get easily in the market under less than $10. But the only problem with them is you need a stand to hold that reflector for very long period of time, or even you can use a big bed set which diffuses the light. Now here are some general rules of lighting your setup for key light. The first general rule is your light should be soft, not harsh. The second general rule is your light source should be as big as possible. If you look in Hollywood, they use big softbox, because the bigger the softbox gets, the lesser shadow it casts in your face, and the lesser shadow it casts in your face, the more cinematic your face looks. Therefore, when you're using any light, either that's panel light, either that's Godox light, if you're using a softbox, the bigger the softbox, the better the picture quality. If I move this panel light farther away from me, it's just one hand away from me, one arm away from me, but the more I move this panel light far from me, the more shadow it will cast in my face. The general example is sun. Sun is very far from earth, so if you try to record early in the morning, it casts harsh shadow in your face. Right now, since my panel light is very big and it's very close to my face, the light gets splitted across my entire face, due to which it casts less shadow. That's the secret. But the main part of this entire process of key light is positioning of your light. When you're placing your key light in certain position, angle matters a lot. If you are keeping your key light straight at this direction, this side gets light up and this whole side gets darkened, which helps you to give cinematic look. If you keep your key light right in front of your face looks flat because the light gets distributed across all different angles. But if you want cinematic lighting, if you want professional lighting, if you want to look good in front of camera, the general rule is keeping your key light in 45-degree angle. You may have watched lots of videos related to this, so I won't elaborate a lot. But the general thing is keep your key light at 45-degree angle, slightly above your head and slightly tilted towards you. And if you do this, it will cast a triangle-like structure right here, which shows that it is a cinematic lighting. Now here's my genuine opinion to you, that you don't even need a key light. You need a key light, but you don't even need a expensive key lights. You can make it by yourself if you don't have a budget. 1.5 years ago, when I started this journey, I started from this lamp. This was my table lamp, which was in my table. I thought, okay, let's make it a key light, and this became my key light. It's pretty dirty right now. I haven't used from very long time. I stacked one chair above another. I placed that lamp in the top, and here my key light was ready. I used a bigger bulb. This is 17-watt bulb. Inside this, I don't know how I fixed it inside this. This is really big, and it was really harsh. Then I realized after watching some What happened? Oh shit. Okay. Then I realized after watching some YouTube videos that you need a softbox, but I didn't have any money to buy softbox. So what I did, I didn't have any option. So I made my own softbox. Let me show you. So this was the same softbox that I made for the first time. I used some cardboard, tape, I used some glue, staplers and made my softbox. If you look at back side of this softbox, there is a hole from which this light goes inside the softbox, and here my key light was ready. If you look in the front side of this softbox, there's a butter paper, or you can say tracing paper, butter paper, I don't know. So there are two butter paper connected to each other through staplers, which helps to soften the light. But the only problem that I had with this setup was I had lots of friction because of that setup. You know, in order to just make that lighting setup, key light setup, it used to take me more than 5 to 6 minutes. So I need to bring chairs from my kitchen, so stack one chair off of another, then bring this key light, keep it there, then put the softbox. And what I realized in most cases was my softbox used to get broken because it was just fixed from glue and some tape.
Guys, I don't know how, but today my softbox just got damaged and I need to make videos today. There is my setup just being ready and I looked at my softbox and it was just damaged. Now I don't know how I'm going to fix it again. I have a stapler and tape. I need to fix this and make one more video today.
And they say friction is the enemy of consistency. Therefore, if you go with the cheap option, you'll get the cheap results. If you invest little bit on your YouTube channel, then you'll get the expensive results. Now, once the key light is properly fixed, it's time for the fill light. If you look in this setup, this side is lighted very properly and it looks kind of cinematic. But this side is really dark. And since this side is really dark, it feels like you're watching a really cinematic movie, or you're watching a ghost movie, or I'm in a crime scene or something. I'm not. You turn on your fill light, and the main goal of fill light is to fill the shadow which is in the side. Not very much, just a little bit, so that it looks cinematic and your face looks symmetric. This side is more bright, this side is less bright. Right now I'm using ring light as my fill light, and this fill light used to be once my key light, which used to be placed here, but since I brought this, now it goes here. So here are some basic principles of fill light. Your fill light should also be in 45° as key light. Your fill light should be slightly above your head and tilted towards you, similar as key light. But the only difference between fill light and key light is your fill light fills more than half portion of your face, but your key light only fills the slightly portion of your face. And the second difference is your key light will be really bright and your fill light will be less brighter as compared to your key light. But if you don't want to use this ring light, you can also use some white board or white sheet which reflects the light from your key light and removes the shadow in your face. The main goal here is to just remove the shadows so that it looks less distracting. Once you have your key light fixed and the fill light fixed, still you don't separate yourself from the background. If you look in this setup, my face looks good, but I am not separating myself from the background. If you look at top YouTubers, they separate themselves from the background by using rim light. In this setup, I don't have a rim light, but the basic thing with rim light is it is only used to separate you from the background. The light comes from the behind and hits the edge of your head and shoulder. Usually when you are using a rim light, you place it at 110° angle from top to bottom and it hits here. You can use any light for this. You can even use RGB lights. Now we come to the light which is mainly responsible to make your setup look cinematic, and it is practical lights. Let me show you. In this setup, I have two practical lights. The first one is this light. It's my table lamp, which is warmish. This gives a vibe in the video. The second light is my RGB light, which is bluish. And if you look in this both light, this and this are opposite to color palette, and these two contradict to each other, and it looks great to watch. It's also a part of branding. You know, like when you come down to branding's aspect, in Europe, there are lots of things in branding. Lighting is also a one part of that process. Now for the practical light, you can use either lamps or you can use this kind of light, a table lamp, which I brought almost 6 months ago in less than $10. They are not very expensive, but they are very good. Or even you can use some fairy lights. The only thing is when you're using practical light, it should be seen in the setup. That's the only thing. And the second light that I'm using is the RGB light, which should not be seen in the background. If you look in my background, the RGB light is not been seen. But if you look this practical light, it is been seen in the background. This creates a vibe. This creates the mood. and it looks cinematic. One rule when you're using practical light, and that is, if you're using practical light, your practical light should not be right behind your body. It's just like rule of third. If you look in rule of third, your face should always be in the center and the practical lights should be in the sideways direction, so that the focus directly goes to your face, and since the practical lights are in sideward direction, they create cinematic feel. After completion of the lighting, now it's turn for the camera. This is really a cheap phone. It's around $200, but still in my comments people ask which camera you are using, which mic you are using, why this video looks really good. And I got this result mainly because of two ways. The first is my lighting setup and the second is my camera setting. If I record normally in this same lighting setup but without my proper camera setting, my setup looks this way. But now if I turn on the camera setting, my setup looks this way. There's a huge difference. When I started my YouTube journey, I believed that if I had a good camera, then I'll get a good video. But that was completely wrong. First, what your camera sees should be nice. Camera is for capturing something in higher resolution. And if your background is cluttered, there are lots of stuff in background. And if your camera captures cluttered background in higher resolution, your video is gonna look cluttered. Therefore, the first thing that you must do is remove all the distracting things from your background. Once you do that, then we'll come to angles and frame. When we are talking about camera angle and frame, one of the key main concept is about rule of third. Here basically you divide your videos into grid. You'll get some settings in your phone that will help you to turn your videos into some grid, and in that grid your main goal is to keep yourself in the center of that video. Right now the key focus is here. It's not in my background because I am in the center of my video. The second is you are not using your default camera to record your videos. Suppose if I record this video from my default camera, then even if I move little bit, the light starts to flicker. The white balance changes, the focus shifts, and you don't want that. If you use your normal camera, default camera, you'll never get this kind of look. Therefore, in order to get this kind of look, I'm using Pro mode in my phone. My phone supports Pro mode, from which I control everything. ISO, white balance, FPS, shutter speed, my resolution, everything is controlled from my Pro mode. But if your phone does not contain Pro mode, for Android use Filmic Pro and for iOS use Blackmagic. The third is shutter speed. When it comes down to shutter speed, the industrial standard which I have learned is double of FPS. So if your FPS is 25, your shutter speed is 50. If your FPS is 30, your shutter speed is 60. If your FPS is 60, your shutter speed is 120. Higher FPS basically means you have higher quality videos and you can convert that high quality video into slow motion. But the only problem with higher FPS is there is less motion blur. That means when you're moving your hands at higher FPS, it looks unnatural. But for talking head videos, just like this one, 25 to 30 FPS is the best because it gives you perfect motion blur. Right now I'm moving my hand, I'm moving my body, and it looks natural. But if the FPS is high, it looks unnatural. The fourth is ISO. Now the basic thing about ISO is ISO acts as a natural light for your video. The more you increase the ISO in your videos, the more natural light gets increased in your video. That means if you're increasing your ISO slightly more and more and more, your face starts to get brightened. But your background at the same time also gets lightened. It's very difficult to get cinematic look with higher ISO. Right now my ISO is 100, which is really less. So if I turn off my key light and my fill light, everything is really dark. That means my ISO is low. But when I turn on my key light, if you notice, though my ISO is less, the light is powerful, it is lighting up my face. And the background is getting lighted but not very much. And then I turn on this and now it looks good. But if I increase the ISO at this same video, then what you'll realize is the natural light increases, my setup does not look cinematic, and the grain increases in the video. So the key takeaway is keep your ISO as low as possible and your key light should be strong enough to lighten your face even with low ISO. Fifth, white balance. When it comes down to white balance, there is no any specific number for white balance, like this is the right amount that you should use. But here's some basics that I'll teach you. White balance depends upon two things, your room temperature and the time of your filming. If you look at Himalayas or colder areas, it's mostly blue. But if you look at desert or any hot place, it's orangish. If you look in the morning, it's bluish. Throughout the whole daytime, it's warm. And during the evening, it's little bit of orangish. Second factor that changes white balance is your key light. Right now, I'm using slightly bluish light. But if I change this, now this is looking really warm. It's like I'm in the middle of the day, I'm in the desert area. Now this is really bluish. It looks like I'm in a colder areas. I'm filming early in the morning, or I'm in the Himalayas. Basically, your white balance ranges from 0 to almost 9 to 10,000 Kelvin, and 4500 to 5000 is the mid-range. For this video, I'm using 4200 Kelvin as my white balance. But even if you design a professional setup, but if you lack these core YouTube skills, just like your packaging, your hooks, your intros, structuring of your videos, storytelling, then no matter how good your lighting is, no matter how good your setup is, people are not gonna watch your videos. Therefore, to improve your YouTube skills, watch this video. If you're a business owner and want our help to grow your personal brand on YouTube, which is very important, then hit the link in the below. We'll go through your waiting list and we'll check whether we can help you or not.